Okay, good morning. I will turn over to Sergeant Cole German with the SFPD CAP section to update us on a recent homicide investigation.
Hello and good morning. Here to talk about a homicide investigation that we've been conducting here at the Sioux Falls Police Department. Some information came out yesterday. Though we've done an extensive investigation into this incident at this point, it's still in its infancy, so we can't go into a lot of detail for things that we can cover, just for the integrity of the case and evidence and things of that nature. But I'll cover what I can with you guys. So on September 5th, 2025, at about 8:53 a.m., officers from the Sioux Falls Police Department were dispatched to Cherry Rock Park, located at 1800 East 18th Street, for a check well-being call. When police responded, they located the victim, Thomas Mark Fernandez, Thomas Thomas, and then Fernandez Fernandez, date of birth 7/4/1974. He was at the park and had visible injuries. Ultimately, he was taken to a local hospital and later died from his injuries. 4 suspects were identified through this investigation. They're all currently at the Minnehaha County Jail. Those suspects include Donovan Bird Necklace Pigney, date of birth 02/09/2000, and then Tiana Herrera, date of birth 5/10/2001, and Chaska Little Bear, date of birth 8/25/1995, and then Al Pigney, date of birth 06/12/1992. Should be noted at the time of this incident, Al and Donovan were both on parole. All suspects were initially arrested and lodged for aggravated assault and robbery in the second degree, pending further investigation and autopsy results. All suspects, were indicted yesterday at grand jury for 6 counts: murder in the first degree, murder in the second degree, robbery in the second degree, aggravated assault, and manslaughter in the first degree. This investigation has continued and is still continuing, and there's no risk to the public at this time. This was not a random event where someone was targeted, someone was working out there, anything like that, or playing. We believe these individuals were affiliated or knew each other to some extent, and this wasn't a random event. No risk to the public. And I just would like to touch on as well that these cases, they can be very trying, and we work with some of the best men and women in law enforcement, and also with the State's Attorney's Office, our forensic technicians. They do a great job, so we can see these cases come together, and we can get as much information as we can to represent these victims. Is there any questions that you guys have?
It looks like the suspects were arrested a few days later and all not at the same time. Where were they
Correct.
found? How did those arrests happen?
Correct. Good question. So they were found at different times. So as our investigation continues and develops, we get more information. And so that's how our case proceeds. That's maybe how we identify certain individuals in situations like this. And that's how we don't always come into contact with people at the same time. So sometimes they're arrested at different times, different places, locations like that. I'm not able to say at this time where they arrested at, anything like that, but I can tell you Donovan was arrested on the 10th, Tiana was arrested on the 10th, Chaska Little Bear was arrested on the 12th, and then Al Pigney was arrested on the 10th.
Were they cordial arrests? Were they fighting anything? Were they...
We did not have to fight with them.
Okay.
They were arrested in Sioux Falls?
Correct.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, what was the motive? What was the disagreement about that led to this?
So I can't really touch on that, but they have extensive charges here. Robbery is certainly one of those.
Can you tell us what made somebody call in to do a well-being check? Was it a bystander?
It was an individual person, not related. They were concerned for the individual and believe he maybe needed some medical attention, and they were concerned about him, so we were called to assist him.
And injuries, what did those look like? Were those injuries from being hit, being kicked? Were they stab wounds? Were they gunshot wounds?
So he had visible injuries, but it wouldn't be appropriate for me to say at this time what they appeared to, but it was clear that he was in a physical altercation.
Were there weapons involved?
Again, that's not something I can release at this time. still in our infancy on our investigation.
Did this happen at the park?
Yes.
So the person who called it in, you have witnesses from the park who saw this? I mean, it's a park, it's a Friday morning.
It occurred at the park, but we can't release right now on what people saw, things of that nature.
When did the victim die?
The victim died on the 9th, September 9th.
So I have a question about the timeline. Now you say there's no risk to the public. You know, the people at least were acquainted with the victim, those accused.
Mm-hmm.
How soon did you know that? Because, you know, someone calls in about a welfare check, someone's obviously been injured.
Yeah.
We don't hear anything. How soon did you know that there was no risk to the public?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So kind of just how these investigations develop. I would like to tell you guys a lot more information, but just to preserve the integrity of the case, I can't go into that. But I can say that there's no risk to the public. This was not a random act or anything like that.
I think you said 2 of the suspects were on parole. Is there any
Correct.
suspicion that this is like gang related?
I don't believe so at this time.
Were the two pygmies, Donovan and Al, were they related? Do we know?
I believe they are related, yes.
Okay. What about the robbery? Do we know what the robbery, what they were, is it something tangible on Thomas? Anything that they were?
Can't go into a lot of detail on that, but it was items belonging to the victim and things of value.
Can you go into a dollar amount?
No, I can't, sorry.
What,
I want to go back to the park too, because it apparently happened at the park. Are there any concerns, because this is one of several in the last probably 18 months that have happened in, you would say, public places? This is, again, Friday morning, people are using the park.
Sure.
Can you speak to that at all?
So obviously we have a lot of enforcement out in the parks. We have parks officers out there. They're constantly monitoring these parks. This was in a secluded area. This was not like, you know, someone on a bike trail or anything like that. So like I said, this was not a random incident. So there was no risk to anyone who would have been using the park or exercising out there or anything like that.
so if there were weapons involved, then it would have been at risk, but we can't confirm whether there were weapons involved. I mean, even if it was isolated, if there's a weapon in the park.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Weapons can mean a lot of different things. Weapon to you might be something different for me.
I should ask this earlier. Where are the suspects from? Do you have addresses for them? Are they from Sioux Falls? Because I don't think you have answered that. From Sioux Falls?
They all have history with us. We've encountered them before, but I can't say where they're from or anything like that.
Are they registered as Sioux Falls residents?
They're acquainted with us. I can't really say where they're registered at. So
Any other suspects that you are still looking for that could be involved in this?
no,
And more on the timeline, he died September 9.
correct.
So why the press release now? And the suspects have been in custody since 10/11/12.
Sure.
So
Sure, that's a great question. So in these cases, you know, when we're doing our investigations, we have to kind of gauge that on how are we going to preserve our evidence, because, you know, when an incident first happens, we might not know what we're trying to collect, and if we push this information out right away, people who do have access to evidence or things that we're looking for, they can quickly be destroyed, changed, you know, discarded. We may never find them again. And then we're not doing justice to the victim who lost their life either, because then we can't give them a good case to represent them.
How key was the victim in identifying your suspects? I mean, was the victim able to give Cheryl out immediately, or yeah?
was he conscious?
The victim was conscious when we encountered him.
So he was able to speak to who the suspects may have.
We gathered some information from him, but I can't go into further details on that.
Can you tell us if drugs were involved?
Drugs do appear to be involved in this incident, yes.
Can you expand on what kind of drugs?
No.
Marijuana, methamphetamine?
Not at this time, no.
Or has will there be autopsy results revealed? Has there been, is an autopsy complete? Obviously, so.
Yep. Good question. So an autopsy did take place. We have a provisional report. It usually takes a while to get a final report from the coroner's office.
The charges are very similar at this point. Would you expect that to change at all as you continue the investigation where one suspect might be more responsible for the ultimate death or, can you expect any changes that way?
That's a good question. So a lot of that is in the hands of the state's attorney's office on how they proceed with the case, as well as what charges they do or do not move forward with. At this time, they've all been indicted for all these counts.
Any arraignment dates?
That I don't know.
It looks like on, what we're seeing so far on e-courts that there's a couple of them, Donovan had some upcoming hearings. There's
Sure.
some previous warrants. Are those still pending?
Looks like he had an active case that I could see, but those would still be pending. It looks like it's still open. I don't know dates or anything like that, though.
Okay. I want to bring up how there's a delay in bringing this information to the public.
Mhm.
When there were police scanners, there was some information that was readily available to the public.
Sure.
And they could choose how they wanted to respond. Now we're looking at days, possibly weeks after the fact. How do you justify that the public doesn't have that access to make their own choice in real time?
Sure. I won't try to justify anything like that. Decisions with, the radio and things like that. To my understanding, that's a national standard at this point, and it sounds like we were kind of on the back end of that from that change. But obviously, that's for people in higher positions than me. As far as releasing the information, my focus primarily is on the investigation. I supervise the detectives, so that's primarily our focus. And at the time when we're doing this investigation, we felt there was no risk to the public.
We've heard a lot about situations where individuals or groups of individuals may be, quote, living or staying for longer times along the green belt trail
Sure.
and park areas. Any dynamic of that to this incident at all?
I wouldn't be able to touch on that at this point.
Police were called at 8:53 in the morning. How long before that did the incident happen?
Yeah, so that's pretty key information that I couldn't release right now. I know. There's certainly a lot of information I would like to share with you guys, but just for the integrity of the case and for the victim, I just can't release that right now.
Have any next of kin been notified for
Yes.
times?
Yes,
And they were a few weeks ago. They're not finding out the same time.
correct.
So just to make sure we're being 100% understanding of this, the best way to describe is the victim was assaulted, weapon was involved, you're not disclosing what type of weapon or weapons. Is weapons plural applicable here, or is it weapon?
Yeah, so it's a great question, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to touch on that at this point. That would be some key information I'd be putting out there, so.
Have weapons been apprehended?
Again, I'm not gonna touch on that at this point.
But we can assume that the public is safe even though weapons might be at large.
There's no risk to the public at this time.
And it would be accurate to say assaulted, at least one weapon involved, or would be inaccurate to say weapon? Okay.
Again, at this time, I won't share that information. It wouldn't be
you.
appropriate.
So you're not specifying whether or not weapons were involved?
We have information that they were involved, but I won't go further than that.
That was just for clarity. Thank you.
They is plural.
I think it's kind of, I won't expand on that further,
Okay.
so,
Did you mean to say they?
I mean, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
Very cool,
Yeah. Regarding the autopsy, have any labs been sent out of state for analysis?
I'm not sure on this particular case, but typically in these situations, they do perform lab results and those take a while to come back. Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, as far as the log, there is not a whole lot to go through today. There was one assault with a report, storage unit burglary, frauds and family offenses were standard reports, along with the rape and sex offense on the list here. Simple assaults were mostly domestics. Sudden death was not suspicious, and the 2 weapons violations, one was a report, no arrests, and one was involving a juvenile. Excuse me. I did want to touch on, as we've done the past couple Thursdays, the Crime Stoppers Crime of the Week was released today. Again, I'll just go over that real quick. On Friday, September 19th, officers took a report of a counterfeit bill that was passed at a local business near 12th Street and Kiwanis Avenue. The suspect in this case was described as an African-American male with medium-length dreads that had passed a $50 counterfeit bill at that location. Upon looking into the incident a little further, officers were able to determine this same suspect had passed a counterfeit bill, another $50 bill, the previous day at a business near 85th Street and Louise Avenue. And there is video of the suspect leaving in what's believed to be a black SUV after this incident. Photos of the suspect have been added to the Crime Stoppers website, which is crimestopperssuempire.com. As I touched on last week, if you have some spare time, please take a look at these photos and any other photos that are on our unsolved crimes portion. There's a convenient box right next to that that says submit a tip. If you have information that could help the detectives out in these cases, please take some time to submit that tip. Any information you have could be beneficial to helping solve this case and many others. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Yeah, I apologize. Can
No,
you go
it's fine.
back to the burglaries at storage units?
There was one burglary report from a storage unit. Yep.
Okay,
A storage unit was broken into.
okay, thank
Yep.
you.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you.